Every story has an opening line. Some are serious, some are funny, some become famous, and then some don't. We all, I think, know the first line of some book. Maybe Charles Dickens's "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times." Or Harry Potter. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. Or maybe Kurt Vonnegut's "All This Happened, More or Less" is your vibe. I have one that probably very few could guess. You ready? Okay, here we go. When a man writes a life of himself or others, the principle of truth should be the basis of his work. Where all is invention, if consistency be kept, high coloring is merit, but a biography derives its sole interest or utility from its exact truth. Every man who had suffered for a principle and would lose his life for its success should write his own life. That was written by Benjamin Robert Hayden in 1820. It served as the opening of his autobiography, which contained not only an account of his life, but also his letters, journals, and other writings. In the end, it resulted in a 3-volume set of books, first published in 1853, 7 years after Hayden committed suicide. That's the summary, and I could stop the story there, but the real story is a bit more complicated and features Tom Thumb, even if only in passing. Welcome to Curious People Wanted. I'm Dr. Darren Raymond Locke, curator of the Barnum Museum. I've received quite a few questions regarding Tom Thumb and Benjamin Robert Hayden, so I figured it might be good to tell the story. It is, though, unfortunately, a very sad one. I don't think the idea of a suffering artist is a new one, and certainly it is one that most people are familiar with. The litany of artists that have suffered with depression or other mental illnesses is long. Vincent van Gogh is well known for suffering from depression and anxiety, the episodes of which played out on his canvas in brushstrokes and in the loss of his ear. Louis Wain, who just had a movie starring Benedict Cumberbatch made about him, suffered from what is believed to be undiagnosed schizophrenia. And more recently, stars like Demi Lovato, Billie Eilish, and even Stephen Fry have all discussed mental illness. Benjamin Robert Hayden was another artist who could be added to this list, but he isn't very well known. In short, he was a British painter who specialized in historical paintings. He painted on the macro scale. Some of his paintings were so large he had to get on ladders to paint the top of the canvas. But let's dive a bit deeper. Hayden was born in Plymouth, England on January 26, 1786, to bookseller Benjamin Robert Hayden Sr. and his wife Mary. He moved to London around 1805 and enrolled at the British Academy Schools, displaying his first exhibit in 1807. Hayden harbored a desire to be England's greatest historical painter and produced a series of paintings with very heroic scenes that really focused on biblical or classic subjects. That being said, that wasn't the only subjects he painted. He did create some portraits, including one for William Wordsworth, but overall, he aimed to use art to educate and improve public taste. That lofty desire, at least in part, led to a life of disappointment. He never really achieved any commercial success and ended up in jail several times for indebtedness. He also seems to have lacked tact in personal dealings, had strong opinions, which led to issues with institutions like the Royal Academy, and there are quite a few stories in which he seems to have alienated people of standing. But he maintained friendships with interesting people of the time, like poets John Keats and Elizabeth Barrett Browning. But Hayden's passions and ambitions were situated in painting. I won't go into every minute detail of his life, but instead I'm going to focus on the last few months, April to June 1846. This is the period of time that people ask me about the most, and that is because of the appearance of Tom Thumb. In April 1846, Hayden opened a new show in the Egyptian Hall in Piccadilly, London. There were 2 paintings on display, The Banishment of Aristides and The Burning of Rome by Nero. There were also a bunch of drawings. The exhibit was a failure. On May 18th, Haydn closed the show and owed the Egyptian Hall 111 pounds. I doubt his receipts covered that expense, seeing as the exhibit only received 134 visitors. And those numbers aren't good. Unfortunately for Haydn, the attraction exhibiting at the same time across the hall was a big draw, and that attraction was General Tom Thumb. Tom Thumb began exhibiting 2 weeks before Haydn's show opened and continued to draw crowds through mid-July. I didn't find the exact number of people who actually saw Tom's exhibition over the entire length of his stay, but during Easter week alone, 12,000 people paid a shilling each to see him. Thumb brought in the equivalent of what is today almost $88,600 that week alone. Just for comparison, on Easter Sunday, Haydn only had 22 visitors and took in receipts totaling £1, 3 shillings and 6 pence. When Haydn closed his show, he put an announcement in the paper which read, "Mr. Haydn, finding his pictures no match in attraction for that interesting little fellow Tom Thumb, has withdrawn Aristides and Nero from the Egyptian Hall till the whole 6 are completed." Over the next 2 months, Haydn's journal entries became quite dark, and a letter sent to Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Sir Robert Peel, suggests he was feeling an impressive weight from debts owed. On June 22, 1846, Haydn committed suicide. I should say here that it is unclear whether Tom Thumb or P.T. Barnum knew what was playing out across the way during their time at Egyptian Hall. Okay, so here's the conclusion. In terms of his art, Haydn is viewed as mediocre at best. Charles Dickens described his painting as quite marvelous in its badness. And Haydn seems to have fought almost continuously for recognition. But while his contributions to art weren't through painting, he did leave a lasting impression in his autobiography, his journals, diaries, and letters, which share intimate discussions of really famous people like William Wordsworth, the Shelleys, Lord Byron, Horace Smith, and Charles Lamb. It is those writings that really are his legacy and harbor a lot of value, much more so than any painting he ever created. They discuss the art scene in the first half of the 19th century and provide insight into it at a time when huge transformations in architecture, literature, and landscape design not only shaped the world physically, but also demonstrated social ideas of the period. The movement was called Romanticism, or the Romantic movement, and focused in particular on ideas of emotion, individualism, and nature as a means to understand both religion and humanity. It had far-reaching implications, not only on social and natural science, but on urban design and politics too. And Haydn was there for it. He was a part of it, cataloging it. He wrote his autobiography in 1821 and gave instructions for it to be published upon his death. Dramatist Tom Taylor edited the work and published 3 volumes in 1853. Please like and share this video, subscribe to our channel, and feel free to comment if there is a topic you'd like me to explore more. But most importantly, remember to stay curious.